Welcome everybody to another episode of Jabroni Drive. On this week's episode, we cover the Bloodline, Judgment Day, Damian Priest, Alpha Academy, Hulk Hogan, Ilja Dragunov, Bron Breaker, and so much more. Will this be the greatest episode in the history of Jabroni Drive? I think so. Tim, do you have anything you want to say to the millions and millions of Schmidt and Lavellites out there listening?
If you're not down with our show, we got 2 words for you. Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love it. Bye-bye. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Jabroni Drive. An incredible entrance, an incredible moment. The theater, the theatrics. Top
Pyro.
The pyro. That's what we need, Tim. We need some pyro. Tim, did you notice anything different about my background this week? Anything sticking out to you?
Looks like you got a new throw pillow back there.
Oh.
Have
you ever seen this bad boy before, Tim?
I mean, I know you didn't earn it. I mean, you must have bought it off some website, right?
This was actually a gift from my wife on our wedding day. I would say I'm the champion of her heart, Tim.
I'd like to take that off you at SummerSlam, baby.
Oh, boy. For those of you who are just listening, I'm holding up a WWE Heavyweight Championship belt, the old school Heavyweight Championship belt. All right, we got a lot to talk about this week. A lot going on. We're in the build to SummerSlam, which will be happening in about 4.5 weeks, I think now. 4.5, maybe 5 weeks. And we're starting to get more and more answers on where things are headed, and there's still a lot of questions out there. Big moment, a lot of talk this past weekend. We'll start with first, Friday Night Smackdown, the Bloodline. The Bloodline storyline has been going on for several years now. It's really, peaked and gone to WrestleMania. Are we coming to an end of Bloodline? Tim, what did you think of the Bloodline segment to start the show and then the fallout towards the end of SmackDown?
So to start the show, just remind me again.
It was the trial of the tribal chief. The
God.
Usos called out
Christ.
Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Look, it just was just so. It's just so long, dude. It was so
too long.
It was just so much. And look, you get everything in that whole promo. Was that now at the end is when Jey,
so if you want me to paint the picture,
right?
It's the Usos.
Help me paint it. Yeah,
they're calling out, and then Roman comes out, and he has, and I think it was actually just Solo and Paul Heyman come out, and they were saying that you don't tell us to not talk anymore, or Paul Heyman was saying no one tells me to not talk, on the mic, and then Solo grabbed the mic from him, and then Roman's music hits, he comes out, another long walk out, and I loved the segment. I loved the idea of the I liked how he said, "Who are you? You don't call me out. I'm the tribal chief. Nobody calls a trial on me. I call the trials. You don't call a trial on me." The problem, which I think you mentioned earlier, was that it ran way too long, and it ran too long where I don't think they beat down what eventually ends up happening. If you didn't watch it, Roman takes his knees, says he doesn't want to be the tribal chief anymore, which was a pretty crazy moment, right?
Well, that was at the end, wasn't it? At the end?
No, that was at the beginning.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I got it. All right. Yeah. Then he gets on his knees, and then the leg gets put on his head by Jey, and then The low blow happens. Okay. All right. Yeah,
Yes.
that was and this is
And we
this
predicted
also
that, Timmy,
yeah.
on our
Yeah.
show,
We
a
did.
thing like that. I don't think they got brutal enough, though, is my thing.
No. But this all so we were amped up because this was at Madison Square Garden, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And
First time I think
look,
they've had a live show, a televised show from Madison Square Garden in years because they had a deal with Barclays Center. So this is the first show I can remember that was televised from Madison Square Garden in quite some time.
and we were expecting something major to happen, which I mean, I guess you could say that was kind of major, but yeah, like the development again, yeah, the archetype of Jey Uso's character, the journey, the hero's journey, if you will, and I'm referencing back now to my electronic media communications days at Lycoming College, but he is now front and center of this whole bloodline, you know, storyline. And Roman obviously has been the catalyst, right? He's been the guy that's driven this bloodline to where it's at, right? And now you have someone to rise up and now is challenging, the bloodline and the creator of the bloodline. And it's the hero's journey. So now it's him, right? His brother gets destroyed, in that segment, and it's time for him to make a choice. And now we have a setup, okay, of Roman versus Jey Uso, right? His brother might be on leave for a little bit. Who knows how that works out because they've always been the tag team. So you decide to make now a singles match. Now it's is it a battle for the bloodline or what is it for now? What are we actually trying to accomplish here, right? What is exactly what does Jey want ultimately? I think that's the thing that we need to really figure out is does he just want revenge? Does he want the belt, right? Does he want
Right.
what
Yeah.
is what exactly is it that he wants? I mean, he's holding up the belt in the middle of the ring, right? As if he wants it, but it seems to be more like Jay's in such a it was always in limbo, right? Like where is he going? Does he lie with the bloodline? Does he not with the Sami Zayn thing, right? He's being pulled both ways throughout this entire storyline. And now it's so funny because we saw the first blow to the bloodline was Jimmy, right? And Jimmy super kicks Roman, right? And now Jimmy gets the brunt of the actual beatdown, and now it's Jay now that has to come to his rescue, and now he's going to fight for revenge for his brother, right? It's crazy how many layers the story has, and how awesome it's been told over the course of the last few years, and where it's at right now. It's building up to SummerSlam. Um, is it going to be a title match?
Well, I guess that would be the question. They didn't say that it was a title match. I'm assuming it's going to be a title match. I wonder if there's a stipulation on this match. So the segment itself early went long. It went way long. And I feel like if they cut the talking down 5 minutes and made it just more of just this ruthless beat down, like they had the moment, they have the shot for when they do the pre-match thing where Jimmy is
The cut
crucified
scenes and
and
all that shit. Yeah.
he's in the ropes and they're holding him and he's watching Jay's in the ropes and he's watching Jimmy get beat down and chair shots or whatever. I would have loved them. I would have liked him to be more lifeless and them kind of dragging that lifeless body around in front of Jay, bring him into the ring, put the chair over the head and have Solo do his, kind of the Rikishi like that, back right into the head there that they had done to Riddle that kind of put Riddle out of action for a while. Just more stuff like that because I felt like that part was rushed. as long as the segment was, and they did all this stuff with the talking, and I thought there was some great. I mean, Roman was really crying in his thing, and I was like, okay, there's some decent stuff going on there. When he took the knees, I was like, man, like I knew that something was up. I knew he was going to do a low blow, but I thought in my head, like, man, that's like, this is a moment here, you know? And so I did enjoy that. But it just went too long. And I think more time should have been spent on the physical aspect of the beatdown. And I feel like it really would have brought Dre. Now they end up taking him out in the ambulance. Jimmy's taken off in the ambulance. Jey goes with him. And then later on in the show, Jay's back in the building. Jay's here. Out comes Roman. Let's do this again. I want to meet him in the ring. Acknowledge me. Here comes Jay down through the stands. He jumps over the top, takes on Solo, gets in there, gets his shots at Roman, hits a bunch of chair shots on Solo. The belt's left there. He's holding him out. He calls out. And Jey Uso, I mean, we've talked about it several times. I mean, this guy sells. He sells the match. He sells the promo there at the end. Now I got to get you. You know what I mean? Or whatever the hell he was yelling at. Now I got to get you or something like that. You got me. Now I got to, whatever the hell he said, which was way more like, I could never be that way. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't even think about saying that.
You're not pulling that off.
No, I'm going to say, hey, buddy, pal, we're going to settle it. Like, do you know remember the commercial, like, fair and square? You know what I mean? Like the guys that are wearing the leather heads and then they come out to whatever. So I thought that segment was great. You know what I'm talking about?
No, it's just terrible. No,
the commercial. You don't know the commercial where they talk about how it's like the old guys are in the locker room and they're like, let's go out there and really give it to them. And they're like, yeah, fair and square. And they're wearing like leather helmets. And then they come out and now it's like the 1960s NFL team is now fighting like a 2023 NFL team, and they go out there and it's like they're just getting demolished. So either way, what am I talking about? I thought it was overall a good segment, a good setup for the SummerSlam match, and I'm really looking forward to that match. Is there anywhere else I wanted to go? Any more comments on that segment, Tim, that you wanted to say, or any more Bloodline talk that you wanted to bring up? There was a moment when Solo grabbed the lei and looked at it for a while there.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I think he knows his place. He's not close to where I know he's going on a streak where, he didn't lose a singles match at all, but I mean, he's rarely been put in singles matches at all recently. But the one thing I do want to call out is just Roman continues to deliver solid promos, dude. The guy has got it. And again, I'm watching old school footage of some of his promos from when he started, and the way he controls the crowd, the way he delivers, the way he's methodical, and the way he speaks. He demands your attention. When he comes out and asks Madison Square Garden to acknowledge him, and then he comes back out again at the second segment, and he's like, I didn't like how I got that acknowledgement the first time. Acknowledge me. And like, dude, there's half the crowd. I always pay attention to this when he does this, because you can tell whether he's losing it, where he's losing it or he's not. And it's that. And it's when they hold up the finger. There's half the crowd that does it, and then there's half the crowd that doesn't. But he's still getting his fair share of boos, and he gets a lot of cheers too as well when he does it. And it's a cool reaction, because that's exactly where you want to be when you're holding the belt and you're a heel, right? People love you because you're a heel, and people hate you because you're a heel. And it's great because it's like the Darth Vader effect, right?
Right.
Like there's so many people that love Darth Vader because he's a bad guy and he represents everything that's like shitty. And but dude, like the dark side of the Force is like really fucking cool.
Yeah. The Joker, another one,
Yeah, but at the same time, like he's the bad guy, so how can you root for him?
So, Tim, in this question, if this is a championship match, any chance Jey Uso ends the reign of Roman Reigns at SummerSlam and wins the undisputed championship?
Now I'll put that to bed right now because there's no way that Jey Uso gets to pin Roman for the first time, and then Jey Uso gets to beat him for the belt. That would be that. I mean, you might as well if you're going to let him do that. I mean, you might as well make him the next tribal chief of the bloodline. I
Yeah.
mean, and let Roman go to Hollywood or whatever he's got to do next. But I just think that's a little bit of a jump for Jey. As a tag team guy for his entire life, to thrust him into that limelight, especially at SummerSlam, I don't think it'll happen. I still think we talked about this a while ago. I identified Freddie Prince, and he was talking about Freddie Prince, who used to be a writer for the WWE, talked about how Dusty Rhodes, his story was elongated, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually it took him 2 WrestleManias to end up winning the belt. And what I can see happening is Cody, eventually coming to Philadelphia for WrestleMania 40 and winning that belt
I think
from
you're
Roman. I
talking
think
about the Mid-Atlantic. I know you said maybe a
or
slip
not the yeah,
Mid-Atlantic wrestling. It took them a while to,
right, right.
for our fans out there that are fact
Of
checking us.
of course, mid yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's what I meant. You know that.
Yeah. But so in the NWA and whatever. But so we or was it Mid South? There were so many territories back then, Tim. But like people know what we're saying. The elongated story. Like I made the mistake a couple weeks ago about WrestleMania when it was out this and that. We're talking here. You guys understand what we're talking about. So a funny thing, and should I bring it up now? I've noticed that Seth Rollins was in an interview and he's talking about why he has the belt now, and that he has this belt that maybe you would say is a made up belt or like a prize for someone that they had to make because they didn't want Roman to lose the belts or something like that. And he said, almost like heel territory, like, well, if Roman was here competing like I'm doing, there would be no need for this belt. But we need this belt because he's on, a hiatus or he's not defending the belt or whatever. Like I needed the WWE needed this. Tim, bold prediction now. I feel like we might be in the beginnings of what is setting up to be the WrestleMania main event. I do not think it's going to be Cody versus, as of right now, I do not think it's going to be Cody versus Roman Reigns. I think we are going to be getting at WrestleMania 40 for the Undisputed Championships, Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. I feel like Seth Rollins will lose to Gunther. Gunther at some point will take over the heavyweight championship. Cody will be chasing that. Seth Rollins wins the Royal Rumble and is then facing. You have the perfect story. They were both in the Shield. Seth Rollins, prior to Roman losing this past week, was the only person to beat Roman Reigns, the last person to beat Roman Reigns via disqualification at the Royal Rumble. And obviously their history together is very storied. And I feel like that is something Seth Rollins has never had the final match at a WrestleMania. I mean, his Money in the Bank cash in was an incredible time, but I feel like WWE is thinking that he deserves his moment, and he does, frankly.
Well, you heard it here, folks. This will be the last show on Jabroni Drive until WrestleMania 40 because Tom already planned out the entire year. So I'm out of here, guys. Take it easy.
And can I say a thank you? A thank you. Hey, bold
Well,
prediction. I'm gonna
nothing
have
like
to clip that, and then I can retweet it when I'm right. at WrestleMania 40.
There's nothing like being part of creative and having a guy on the in. Thanks Tom for leaking those. And um,
I'm very fickle, as you know, but I do think that I could see that happening. He mentioned in that interview not having the final match at WrestleMania, and Seth Rollins, as much as I've said, the only question I'll have for him is, will he deliver on this match? Time will tell. So, Timmy, a big week, very big week for the Judgment Day. Now, there's been a lot of turmoil with the Money in the Bank contract. There's been some predictions. I've predicted that Damian Priest is going to cash in at NXT for the NXT championship at some point. Now,
and
I thought it was going to
and
happen. I thought it was going to happen on Tuesday. And if you look at my video posted on TikTok, if you're not following us on TikTok, please do. Schmidt Lavelle, Jabroni Drive. I said if he doesn't cash in at NXT, he will cash in at Great American Bash for the NXT championship. Either way, there's been a lot of turmoil with Judgment Day. This Monday, everything was kind of coming out. They're trying to figure out this problem. I'm starting to like Judgment Day more and more. They seem to figure it all out. That final match, Tim, and I think we were talking about how they're trying to get across that cohesiveness. That I love in a tag match the fast tags. I feel like those are really good for showing some teamwork. And when you do that tag and you come in, New Day used to do that a lot, and I really enjoyed that with them when they would do the fast tag. FTR, who is now with AEW, who was the Revival with WWE, they used to do that a lot. And DIY, like I like these fast tags. I think that is good for tag team wrestling. Either way, the match on Monday was I thought very good, but there were some issues with that match. I saw a couple parts in that match that were, dare I say, a botch or mistakes, and it led to some heat behind the scenes on Monday night. Have you said reference this
yeah, I
article to
brought
me?
that to your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just saw. I mean, look, they're not pointing out people, but the crowd was hot on Monday for Raw. If you watch Raw, you could tell that crowd was at a fever pitch. I think everyone has been expecting something large to happen, right? And with Money in the Bank, you'll get that with every single show because there's an opportunity for somebody to cash in, whether it be a women's Money in the Bank winner or the men's Money in the Bank winner. And there's always an expectation that something is going to go down. And from what the report said, there was there's high expectations for that show when the crowd's that hot. And during that final match, there was a couple botched situations. It looked like Dom had a botch. It looked like Finn Balor missed on a sling blade. It looked like Seth Rollins had a situation happen too. And after the match was over, Judgment Day wins. They go back, and apparently there's words being said back and forth between KO, Sami Zayn, by the way, who have, in my opinion, have kind of lost their cachet, but I'm not going to touch on that yet. But it just seems like, like that the Judgment Day now has momentum, but like whatever, if you botch a match a little bit, there's going to be words being said, especially when you're the main event. I've been. Did you want to add to that article at all, or you just wanted to highlight it?
Well, I would just say the moments that I noticed were there looked like a moment where Seth looked like he took a shot to the face, and there was a couple things. There was the botched sling blade, or sling blade, and then it looked like Dom came in, and it looked like he to break up the 3 count. Sammy came in and looked like he hit Seth right in the face on accident. And there was, I want to say, 3 or 4 moments where they just were out of sync, and I'm guessing this was more frustration amongst themselves. They're a team out there. These guys want to put out the best match possible, and they were probably frustrated that they screwed up those moments. In the end, I don't think it necessarily affected the match in a terrible way. I still found it entertaining. I like the mommy's interference with it and how Judgment Day came out on top. I don't have any extra to add to that. I thought that it was good. I would say it's more of an overall unit's frustration. Hey, we all had this match and there was three or four. We couldn't get in sync. You know what I mean? I feel like it was
Yeah.
probably that and is now being blown out into like backstage heat. You know what I mean? These guys are professionals. They know
Right,
each
right.
other.
Um, but like if we're sticking on the Judgment Day theme, I have been hypercritical of Judgment Day and where it's going and what are they doing? Like there's no one that's holding titles, there's no one, and obviously now that we have Mommy holding the women's championship, we have Damian holding the Money in the Bank contract, and Dom now has a match for the North
Yeah,
American
championship for NXT. Yep.
championship for NXT. Um, I don't mind that they're building, but they're building this whole Judgment Day thing, and it's just taken so long to build, which is crazy. Like, why now all of a sudden do they have like this has been in place since what last WrestleMania, right?
It was a couple months. I want to say it. When was the turn? I want to say there was a payback after WrestleMania and maybe a month out. It's been over a year. And then when Dom joined, that was at Clash at the Castle. So we're coming up in a year on
Right.
that with Dom being on the crew. So it's just been
So
it's
it's been over a year, and
yeah.
Judgment Day now
The only
has this
person to
this
hold a
momentum,
title is Rhea in that year. You know what I mean? So a lot of
and
talk and no
Rhea.
backup.
Yeah, but and then you keep on getting these promos that they keep on cutting that they're running Raw and they're
Yeah.
running this and they're running
Yeah.
that. It's like,
You ain't
what are you
running shit.
talking about?
Yeah. You get
Yeah,
beat every week.
the only thing I see is Dom running away from every opponent that he wrestles.
Yeah.
That's it.
The only
But
one running shit
Rhea
is
has now,
Rhea. She's legit.
yeah, well, she's been pushed now into this kind of leadership role, right? And you saw that on I think Raw when Finn comes out and starts complaining about Damian Priest, right? He's the first guy that comes out, and
Right. Yeah.
I gotta give credit to I gotta give credit to the Judgment Day. Their music is solid. Like
I love
I
their
love their
music.
entrances.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it does have a different feel to it, but he comes out, starts complaining to on the mic about Damian Priest, and he has a problem with them, and Rhea and Dom come down, and Rhea essentially shuts them the fuck up. Says, "Get out of the ring. We'll handle this backstage or whatever." And she's now implementing her dominance as essentially the leader of a faction, which is something that we've never seen
Right.
in the
There's never been a,
WWE.
a
Think,
faction of males with a female leader. I can't
yeah,
think of one, Tim.
no, I mean China did not lead DX, but she
No.
sure as hell could have probably.
Yeah.
um,
I mean,
but
Sonny was the mouthpiece for, some play, but like, no, there was never a female, like, not like a female champion that led a faction
no,
like this. No. Which is
so
kind of,
so this
which
is
I,
something
I
different.
dig. I dig Mommy. I really do like Rhea Ripley. I
Yeah,
think she's the shit, dude.
it's easy to root for her because she's so good in the ring. She has the look, right?
Yeah.
She's getting better on the mic, in my opinion. The accent doesn't help, but like it comes across a little weird. But like with the Judgment Day, we've gotten so many different aspects of it, like where all right, like they're losing all the time, and then like it feels like someone's breaking off in Finn or Priest, and now they're all back together, kumbaya, like holding hands, like going on different shows at NXT and showing up together. So it's like strange where their journey is going. It's like where does it end? And
Right.
we heard that Bailey music the other day. Like Bailey got the Judgment Day music, and
Yeah.
I guess that was a total botch.
Well, Tim,
But
you had made a call last week about kind of an NWO kind of thing, where they kind of have different Judgment Day pieces all over the place. And the more I'm seeing like rumors online and this and that, and I know they're just rumors, but you might be onto something with maybe different members coming out for the Judgment Day, and maybe a Judgment Day member on Smackdown, a Judgment Day member on NXT. And now there's rumors of, I think you had mentioned Bron Breakker joining the Judgment Day. Now, you had talked about a big piece joining Judgment Day. Would that be what if NXT comes around and next thing you know, Great American Bash, Bron Breakker is part of the Judgment Day. He's just got 2 losses back to back, Seth Rollins and then the Ilja Dragunov, which we're going to talk about later. He joins the faction now to kind of help him out. I'm tired of this BS. I want to just start laying people out.
You know who would really benefit from joining the Judgment Day? And they've been trying to find a home for this individual for quite some time. And it's, in my opinion, I think it's Baron Corbin.
Dude, that's a great call.
Yeah.
I'd like that.
We just got a vignette at NXT. We both watched NXT, and it looked like he pulled up on a motorcycle to some site and noticed somebody. Like, did you see that part?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
It was strange.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's been looking for, honestly, he's lost his way obviously for a couple of years now. He's in NXT now. What if Baron Corbin interrupts next week in the match with Dom and helps out Dom and gets the dub, and then all of a sudden, hey, we got a 5th member of the Judgment Day, and he fits in pretty perfectly with that whole crew.
Dude, I love that. And he can be kind of like start off a little silent in the group, just kind of this like enforcer type, like and you put him in there. Next thing you know, you could see him and Dom winning a tag championship or something.
I was just
like
about
that.
to say that, dude. Dude, they would have the most heat of all time, dude. Like,
that would be fucking great, dude. I'm into that. I dig that.
Yeah.
Baron Corbin joining the Judgment Day. Timmy, that's a clip. Look at this. I think you're gonna get a clip on the TikTok. Look at you.
Well, dude, he needs a push.
Yeah.
He does need a push. And he's doing what he needs to do. He went down to NXT, right? And he's rebuilding his brand. And it seems like he's getting some sort of traction with his character, right? They're starting to they're investing in him. They haven't given up on him because they wouldn't create these vignettes for him. Like they're obviously putting some creative into it. So I mean, I just think it would be perfect just to throw him in, not throw him in, but like give him a line, give him a lifeline, give him hey, let's see what you can do with this whole Judgment Day thing.
Right. And you throw some gold on them, and next thing you know, they've got a tag belts, they've got Rhea with her title, and you get Damon and Damian Priest and Finn to do something like, yeah, dude, I dig that. I think that's a perfect fit. I think that would work out really well.
So do you feel that this Priest Finn Balor situation is dead, or do you feel like
it's not dead?
Still be...
It's not dead. I feel like it's on pause. I feel like it's still this underlying thing, and where is this? Eventually going to blow up? Is it going to be with a new member? And now, like you're talking about, you have a new member come in and there's some jealousy there or something like that, or Damian does cash in and win a big title and Finn's jealous of that. Like there's a whole bunch of options that can happen from that. But if Judgment Day implodes and they don't win any titles, what a waste of a year, a total waste of a year. So that's where I'm just like, they can't just end it. You know what I mean? Like if they were to just end it and they implode. I'm starting to think it's going to be more like the Bullet Club that Finn Balor was in with New Japan and all these members in it. And I think they're going to kind of go towards that and just build this like super faction right now. But we'll see. I've enjoyed the last couple weeks with them and where this is going. So we talked about NXT and how Judgment Day showed up on NXT. Another great night for them on NXT. They end up beating the NXT champion, Trick, and then oh geez, I can't remember his name right now. But
Hayes.
What's that?
Hayes.
Yeah, Carmelo
Right?
Hayes. Yep, Carmelo Hayes. So they end up beating him, although with a little bit of a foul play, but they end up winning. And Judgment Day, after 2 nights in a row, is standing tall. And another reason to tune in with that Money in the Bank contract. You know, you never know what's going to happen with the guy with the Money in Bank contract, like you were talking about earlier. So whatever show he's on, you're thinking it's something you don't want to miss it, right? Is the cash in
Well,
tonight?
and Tom, we all agreed. So Tom, you are the leader of this group, right?
Uh-oh.
So we have
Am I
a
the Rhea
text
Ripley
message.
of this group?
We have a text message group with myself and Tom and a third member who still refuses to come on the show,
Yeah.
Robbie Diss. But
Yes.
Tom
Honorary
convinced us
jabroni.
all, honorary jabroni, um, honorary oos, if you will.
Uh-oh.
He had us watching NXT for the first time from start to finish because he felt like Damian Priest was going to cash in on the NXT show. And I'll tell you, Tom, it was probably the best wrestling we've seen in probably about 4 shows, and that includes SmackDown the last 2 weeks and Raw the last 2 weeks. It was some of the best wrestling that we've seen. Some of the women's matches were dare I say pretty decent too as well. But dude, the Bron Breaker,
Ilya
Ilja
Dragunov.
Dragunov match was really good. That tag team match, I said on the text line, I said, hey, it looks like these Judgment Day guys are wrestling better than they did the night before. It's weird. Like they're just in this intimate setting in this small arena, and maybe the pressure of the crowd doesn't get to you. I don't know what it is, but it just seemed like they delivered a lot better than they did the previous night.
You know, maybe the pressure's gone because, like you said, it's a smaller venue or this and that. I will say this before we get to the Ilya Dragunov versus Braun Breaker match. I do think like I cheer for Finn. Like it's so weird. I like Finn and I hate Finn Balor. Like I like Finn and I'm like this guy's garbage. You know what I mean? Like I'm not in love with his finishing move. Like you're the coup de grace is nothing that's like that
Dude,
great, right?
did you see it on Tuesday night? It was insane.
So but so there's that and he came out very like arrogant daddy's home, he says, and got nothing. No one said like everyone was like, what? Daddy's home. You know what I mean? And then fortunately Carmelo Hayes came out and like put him over as, hey, you're on the Mount Rushmore of NXT, which he is. If you're going to talk about NXT, he's been the longest reigning NXT champ of all time, and he was great for NXT. But that was like he does these things where they're just misses. When he choked with Seth Rollins and all the fans, singing Seth's song. And now that, I just feel like on the mic, man, he freaking struggles sometimes and it's hard to watch. I just wish I wish he would hit it out of the park because I feel like this guy puts everything he can into this. So either way, I should get off of that. We've done enough Judgment Day. Ilya Dragunov versus Braun Breaker. Tim, these guys beat the hell out of each other. You referenced Dragunov when in our text we're talking about it. Has been a part of several 5-star matches. Dave Meltzer reviewed 5-star matches with Gunther, aka Walter at the time.
NXT Euro, I think.
UK, yeah,
UK.
NXT UK. And so this match was kind of like a hard-hitting Gunther match that you would talk about. These guys were laying it in. They're going back and forth. The Braun Breaker spear, the slam near the turnbuckle, I thought his neck, I was like, oh, that it looked nasty, but was a great move, and Dragunov sells his matches. He kind of oversells a little bit.
Yeah, he has a little Ricochet in him. Like I talk about Ricochet a lot when Ricochet is so dramatic with his movements, like he's all over the place. This is the first time I've seen this guy wrestle, and it reminded me a lot of Ricochet. How he's hanging off the rope, and he's trying to climb up to the turnbuckle, and he's going to do a high flying move, but like he's it
He can
looks like
barely do it. Yeah.
yeah, it's like all right, dude, relax. Like
Another one like that is Ziggler. He was doing that too, and I feel like they watched that. What we're going to get into a little bit later, that 2005 SummerSlam match, and they say, "Oh, this is how you do it, right?" Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan. Wow, look at HBK, selling this match.
there was a spot in that match though that I highlighted to you. I said, dude, there's no way that Braun Breaker was happy with that flare chop. There's a spot where like he's on his knees and Dragunov absolutely smashes him with a fucking flare chop, and like within like a second, Braun Breaker's on top of him, and it's a hard hitting match, dude. It's like like it reminded me a little bit of the was it the Clash at the Castle? You got to help me out with the pay-per-views with the triple threat match with
Oh no, that was Mania.
WrestleMania, where they clearly beat the living shit out of each other, and like matches like that really go far with
us.
wrestling fans, because
Yeah.
look, I brought that match up to a buddy of mine, Nick Montanez, who loves wrestling, and I'm trying to get him to tune into our show. But he is an underground guy. He watches all and I said to him, I said, Nick, I just got back into wrestling. I said, dude, one of the best matches I've seen in the last 3 years or 2 years since I've been watching was that WrestleMania match. And he's like, yeah, you liked it because they literally beat the living shit out of each other. Like it was a no holds barred, like, hey, this is like they were really like beating the shit out of each other.
An injured Drew McIntyre in that match. We found out just recently he was injured that whole match, and that's why he kind of took off his little hiatus, was to recover because he was injured going into that match and still competed. But that hard hitting, they know each other, they're laying it in. Yeah, man, that's what it's all about. You love to see it, those chops and those kicks, and you're like, man, these guys are really putting it all on the line.
And that's exactly what we were getting from those two individuals at NXT. And albeit a minor league, if you will, right? It's a minor league wrestling promotion before
Developmental, they'll call it. Yeah.
But I mean, it has its own slot on a network. It gets ratings. Call it minor leagues all you want. I mean, that was one of the better matches I've seen in the last 3 weeks.
That was a major league match for sure.
That's it. That's all I had for you.
Well, you know what? And that's part of my prediction with the Damian Priest cash in is that they're trying to bring in, we've talked about Nick Khan trying to bring in viewership to that show on Tuesday nights, NXT, and build it back up, and things out of the ordinary happening is what's going to build it up. You never know what's going to happen on NXT. So that's where I still feel like a Damian Priest cash in for the NXT title is still on the table.
I remember. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I remember. I remember when I first started watching wrestling with you, kind of directing me towards this promotion. And it was years before that when Triple H was running NXT, and NXT was almost hotter than Raw was.
It was.
Right?
You're right. Yes. No, NXT at one point was the question was, is this the show to go to? Like you would be it would be on the night before the main pay-per-views, and you'd be tuning into the NXT takeovers. Like, this is where I was introduced to Shinsuke Nakamura and Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins was built up through this. Now he wasn't so much up, but Chad Gable, which was with Alpha, American Alpha, now Alpha Academy, was on there. FTR, aka the Revival, with AEW. Like, man, there were so many great wrestlers. Drew McIntyre came up when he came back through NXT, like NXT was it in women's wrestling too. Sasha Banks and Bailey and Charlotte and all these wrestlers. Charlotte got the fast track because she's the GOAT, but it was like Rhea Ripley. Mommy is NXT. They were giving her so much love on NXT. So NXT used to be it. They're building it back up slowly. Shawn Michaels is got his guys performing, and he's got his women performing too. I mean,
But to
the
your
NXT
point,
women are top notch, man. Like,
to,
I'm really impressed with the NXT women.
not even to your point, but like what you said earlier is about like, hey, bringing these guys, Braun Breaker and Ilya,
Dragunov, yeah.
Dragunov up. I'm like, can you really do that? You can't leave that cupboard bare if you're trying to build that brand. So like, and look, they do a nice job with sending guys down, right? Like Seth Rollins went down last week and the Judgment Day this week, and maybe we'll see more and more of that. Obviously,
Baron Corbin's
Dom,
been there, and we've had,
Dom,
Mustafa
and
Ali, and
yeah,
Dom's got the match. Yeah.
and they have the ability to kind of do that, but how much do the mainstream wrestlers really want to go down and help that brand out after they spend all their time right down there? Like come on, man, or what are we doing here? So, as much as I would love to see Braun Breaker and Dragunov come up, like it'd be great. Like I thought to add to factions, like we saw Gunther and Vinci and what's his other name? What's the other guy's name? Vinci and
I can't think of it right now. I've had too many drinks, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
but like there was a little rift there between those two
Right.
individuals, like after they lost that match. And I'm like, dude, I would like Dragunov fits like perfectly into Imperium.
Been rumors
Um,
of that.
so it would be cool to see him come up. And Braun Breaker is another like guy that's just such a stud. And you'd love to see him on the main roster. I mean, he wrestled Seth Rollins the other week and he performed well. It's
Yeah.
not like he can't hold his own. I mean, he's obviously ready, but they're holding him back for whatever reason. So we'll see how it turns out. But I
This
don't
is
really.
another reason why I think the Damian Priest cash in. So now he's got the belt for NXT, and he's showing up on Raw every week. And every like once a month he goes down to NXT with his belt to talk his shit, build a fight for the title. But then you got NXT guys that want the title. Next thing you know, Carmelo Hayes is on Raw coming out of the crowd attacking Damian Priest. So he gets a jump up. You know what I mean? So I just feel
Yeah.
like that's part of the reason why I feel like a Damian Priest cashes in for the NXT championship. After it didn't happen on Wednesday, I said, maybe I'm wrong here. And I've been wrong before, Timmy. But so there were three very entertaining shows. We're building towards SummerSlam. I'm gonna go through a little bit of this day in professional wrestling history. Tim, in the history of professional wrestling, obviously one of the greatest parts of professional wrestling is the history, and we've been diving into it more and more. We go back and check out matches. Jesus Christ, we reference Mid-South Wrestling and Mid-Atlantic Wrestling tonight. You know what I mean? So, on this day in wrestling history, technically it was yesterday because we were supposed to record yesterday, but we had to move to today. Hulk Hogan's last match, WCW. It was against Jeff Jarrett, the infamous match where Jeff Jarrett just falls to his back, pin me, and he walks off. Then is cut a promo by Vince Russo on Hulk Hogan. This is, you know what? There's a lot of heat for both of these guys, Vince Russo, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan saying, he doesn't want to do business a certain way because it affect his character. He had creative control in his contract. But basically, the end of WCW, when you look at it after this, everything went down. What do you remember this moment, or have you looked into this at all, Tim?
No, I do remember a couple situations. Well, I remember a couple matches where Hogan pins, what was it, Kevin Nash that took a dive and
Yeah,
and
that was
and
the
did
poke. One of the
yeah
worst. One of the worst things they did in creative there for WCW.
So wait, Jeff Jarrett. I think I've seen this before, but I don't remember it. If you want to refresh my memory, I would love it.
The deal is Jeff Jarrett was supposed to beat Hulk Hogan for the championship belt. Hulk Hogan said, "Nah, that doesn't work for me, brother." So then, as kind of a like, you know what, fine, it doesn't work for you. He's going to go out there and he's just going to lay down now at this pay-per-view and you can pin him right away. And so then Russo comes out and says he'll never wrestle for WCW again. He's done. Hogan tosses the belt to the side as he's leaving. And later on, they announce a match where Jeff Jarrett then faces, geez, I want to say it was Booker T faces Booker T for a championship match. Booker T ends up beating him and winning the championship in WCW. But this whole thing was a shoot. And they said that, you know, Hogan was hard to deal with. I feel like Russo was hard to deal with. Just terrible. Like, at the end of the day, it's the wrestling business and you're here to do business and you got to do what you got to do to put butts in the seats, and just a total flop and just like an infamous day in WCW history, because not that it was the beginning of the end, but I feel like it was the nail in the coffin for WCW, who then eventually was bought by WWF and aka WWE now.
Well, there's a history of this with Hogan. As my homework for last week was to watch the 2005 WrestleMania main event between
SummerSlam.
Was it SummerSlam?
SummerSlam main event.
SummerSlam main event between Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels. Which, as much as I saw the highlights of the match, it wasn't as bad as it seemed. I mean, look, it's bad. And what I'm referencing is, so Shawn Michaels completely oversells everything that Hulk Hogan does throughout the entire match. And he picks his spots where he does it. It's not like a total oversell the entire, like, it's not like he takes a punch and falls out of the ring. He does pick his spots like where it works. And I guess that's what makes Shawn Michaels so great, is that he knows what he's doing. And I think Hogan also knew what he was doing and was like, this motherfucker. Like, and it's cool because it's sprinkled throughout the match. And again, it's not at every single turn, but there's some breaks in between the oversells. And when you see them, you can they're so easy to spot. It's not like, where's Waldo?
Yeah, right. It's obvious. And
yeah.
he was like great. And to give a little history on that, the whole build was supposed to be Shawn and Hogan were tagging together, right? So Shawn, they were facing, gosh, and their names are slipping, but basically at that time, this was shortly, like 9/11 had happened, and they had built up these characters that were, you know,
no,
kind of terroristic characters. Okay. Like they had the look of everyone that would be a terrorist, right? So they were bad guys. I forget the guy's name. He's like a teacher now. He's doing well, and they've been either way. So Hogan or Michaels is facing them, fighting them, and he's sick of being, you know, ganged up on, and he decides he needs a partner. I'm going to find a partner for this match. Out comes Hulk Hogan, the All-American, you know, and and they're going to beat these terrorists down, right? And so they beat them, and then they go on and they win a couple matches, and they do a pay-per-view as a tag team, and then next thing you know, they're cutting a promo one night, and they're just this, and Shawn Michaels sweet chins Hulk Hogan right in the face, you know. And the original plan was to be Shawn go to him, say, "Hey, look, I'm the superstar, I'm the icon, I'm the main event. You're this. I gotta know I'm better than two baby faces going against each other." And Hogan said, "Yeah, that doesn't really work for me. You know, I'm not trying to go against a baby face. I need a." So then it was pushed to then he had to become a heel. Cut to a promo that he caught on him where it was Larry King live, and he talks about
I
if
saw
you,
that.
oh man, he kills Hulk Hogan in that, and he's like, "Are you sure Hogan's good with this?" Like in interviews with Sean, he's like, "You sure?" And guess who helped him write those Larry King Live and stuff like that?
Vince Russo.
No, Stephanie McMahon. God bless Stephanie. I love fucking Stephanie McMahon. That's a whole nother topic for a whole different show. I love Stephanie McMahon. I miss you, Stephanie. I wish you should be back on the show. You deserve more respect than you're getting. If you're listening, I love you. So he does that. Then did you get to watch? Did you get a chance to watch the promo today that I sent you? Montreal.
Oh no, I did not see that.
Okay, well, Tim, when we're done, I want to suggest to all the people out there listening right now, if you have not seen 2005 Shawn Michaels' first return to Montreal, Quebec, Canada, the home of the Montreal Screwjob, please do yourself a favor, go watch it. Incredible promo, maybe the greatest promo of all time. It's so freaking good. With everything that tied in, I'm a big Montreal Screwjob guy. I'm a huge Shawn Michaels, HBK, and Bret Hart fan. So then it goes to the match, and I've seen interviews with Shawn. He's talking about the match, and he says, you know what? Nothing was done too much out of the ordinary that I would normally do. He said, I did one thing for one guy in that match that no one's ever asked me about. The only person to ever bring it up to me was the guy that I did this thing for. Do you know what it was in the match? You could barely see it.
No.
I did some research. He did something in there where it was like he was pulling teeth. Ironically, he was pulling teeth. And that was for Kevin Nash because he said it's like pulling teeth trying to work with Hulk Hogan and, and,
Oh
and have
my.
ideas. And so it was a very obscure, you couldn't even see it, but he did something. So we're going to have to go back and watch that match and find the moment where he goes into the mouth like it's pulling teeth. And that was for Mr. Kevin Nash, whose birthday was this past week. And that was in reference to it's like pulling teeth with Hulk Hogan. What's so funny is they have that promo in Montreal, and Tim, I know I'm going off a little bit here, and I'll stop after this, but they have the promo in Montreal, and the crowd is so hot on Shawn because it's the first time he's back. They're yelling at him for screwing Bret Hart, and there's some big surprises in this promo. And the funny thing is he's facing Hulk Hogan, right? And as much as you can say Shawn Michaels screwed Bret Hart, Hulk Hogan screwed fucking Bret Hart too, dude. Big time. So any Bret Hart, that one's for you, Mr. Chris CT Kryptonite. That one's for you. Hulk Hogan screwed Bret Hart just as much, I would say, almost as Shawn Michaels. So one more thing. I brought up Kevin Nash, and there's been a lot of talk about him, and he's been ripping one of our favorite wrestlers this last week, Mr. L.A. Knight. And I just want to say, like, I think it's coming off sour to me. You know, he's saying it's unoriginal. It's not right. He's basically ripping off The Rock. He's basically ripping off Stone Cold. Tim, this is a guy who was in the NWO with Razor Ramon, who I love, but I mean, that's a blatant ripoff of Scarface. And Razor Ramon's gimmick was a blatant ripoff of Scarface. He's in a faction in NWO with Hulk Hogan, whose whole gimmick is a blatant ripoff of superstar Billy Graham. I mean, he stole the whole look and everything with the boas and everything from superstar Billy Graham and made it his own. I'm not saying he's not. He's in a faction with Razor Ramon, who suggested to Sting to go and do this thing like The Crow, the movie The Crow. You should be like that kind of character. I mean, these guys take different things and they make it their own. And for him to be calling out LA Knight, it just seems like sour grapes. I'm not a big fan of that, you know?
Well, it's funny too because you see you're starting to see clips of LA Knight resurface from his previous stints in different areas. And I mean, as Kevin Nash should know, he's a guy that was in the business for a long period of time, right? He came out He got his big break as a bodyguard for one of the greatest WWF superstars of all time,
Yeah.
right? And it catapulted his career. So he rode that wave. And
Very fortunate to get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for a guy like of his stature to sit there and run his mouth to a guy that's 40 years old and is finally getting his break after 20 plus years in the business and paying his dues is kind of is really bullshit, dude. I
It
mean,
is bullshit. You're right, Tim.
it's like, come on, man. Like, this dude has done everything. Like, he's finally catching fire, and now he's getting criticized by, and Kevin Nash. Maybe he is considered one of the all-time greats. He's a Hall of Famer,
I
obviously, but
love Kevin Nash. You love we both love Kevin Nash, and I bet you LA Knight fucking loves
yeah,
Kevin Nash. You know?
yeah. It's a shame that he has to take a stance on a guy that, why don't you just enjoy the ride, dude? Just let it flow and just whatever. If he's taking something from The Rock and taking something from Austin, then so be it, dude. Let him do his thing. But like, guess what? The crowd resonates with him. The crowd is enjoying him. They want more of him. It's only better for wrestling when something like that gets that hot, as
Yeah.
he experienced with NWL. So let the fucking guy work his thing. Let him do his thing. Let him perform. And let's see where it goes. And it's a shame because he's an older guy, and he's probably not going to get the push that he deserves. But I mean, I hope the guy that he can continue on this hot streak and see him with more success.
Yeah, me too. And you know, and I just like, don't get me wrong. Do I see like bits and pieces? But he's not blatantly ripping the guy off. All of his stuff is his own. He's his own guy, but like, I guess you could tie it together with it. But
I saw a Triple H workout video
yeah,
where he keeps on saying yeah, and that's
yeah,
just like from like 9 years ago, dude. Like,
yeah.
let it go, dude. Just let the dude be him.
But doesn't that? I mean, if Kevin Nash, the only person you're hurting by doing that is yourself, bro. You know what I mean? If The Rock and Stone Cold got a problem with that, what LA Knight's doing it, let them talk about it.
Yeah.
If they feel like they're getting ripped off, and he said he's met both of them, and none of them have brought it up. So what are you gonna do, Timmy? I think that's gonna cover it for us in Jabroni Drive this week. I wanted to get to a little bit of Alpha Academy. Love that group. Maybe next week we'll be talking about them a little bit more. Highly entertaining to me, Alpha Academy on the show this week.
Tune in next week when we break down Alpha Academy versus the Viking Raiders.
Maybe some new opponents for them. What do you think, Timmy?
And then on the back end, we cover Riddle versus Gunther once again. Let me do next week's promo.
Let me see.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the best show ever. Today we're gonna cover Alpha Academy versus the Lion. I'm out of control.
We need to get some new opponents for Alpha Academy.
Talk about
over. They're over. Am I right?
Am I right or am I right? Or am I right?
Or am I right?
Or am I right?
You know what? No one's more over than Jabroni Drive right now. Everyone's loving what we're doing. They're liking, they're sharing, they're commenting. We appreciate you. We love you. Until next time, have a great week. Enjoy this thing we call professional wrestling, and we will catch you next week on Jabroni Drive. Timmy, I love you.